Wondering what the F has happened to your body and your life? You're in the right place, my friend. Welcome to Season 3 of Transforming 45, where we dive into the incredible stories of how brilliant humans are navigating the midlife squeeze with courage, passion, and a healthy dose of humor. Don't miss out on any of our heart-led episodes. Hit the subscribe button, leave a 5-star review, and if you're inspired, share an episode you love with a friend. It means more to me than I can express that you're choosing to spend time here and sharing our message of midlife revolution. So let's get into it. Hey friends, I will be honest, this episode made me nervous. Talking about GLP-1s is a big topic right now, and I wasn't sure I was ready to go there. There's a lot of emotion, a lot of opinions, and a lot of misinformation. But that is exactly why I had to have this conversation. Today, I'm joined by the incredible Kayla Johnson Neal, a fitness expert and wellness coach who brings so much heart and clarity to the midlife experience. We talked about body image, hormones, weight, strength training, and yes, GLP-1s. Kayla is also offering a complimentary consult to help you navigate your own midlife wellness journey. So if you are curious and want to learn more, just click the link in the show notes to book your session. Seriously, don't miss the chance to get this expert support now. Let's get into it. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Transforming 45. For those of you who are watching, you might notice that the background is a little bit different. That's because I now have more humans living in my home with my children having just come home. And that might be a whole other episode on its own, that transition that happens going from empty nesters to a full nest again. I also was saying to my guest, the lighting, however, in here is really good. Maybe this will become my permanent recording spot. And today I am so glad and super interested to have Kayla Johnson Neal. She is a fitness expert, entrepreneur, and women's wellness advocate with 30 years in the fitness industry. Kayla Johnson empowers women to embrace wellness with confidence and consistency. As co-owner of Star Cycle Santa Barbara and a 2-time Lululemon ambassador, she champions sustainable fitness and a positive relationship with food and movement. Through her evolving programs and entrepreneurial ventures, Kayla helps women, especially in midlife, build strength, break free from diet culture, and live balanced, fulfilling lives rooted in empowerment and long-term success. Kayla, we have so much to talk about today. Welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so honored to be here. Thank you for having me. I feel like I need to have you just walk around with me and just give that intro when I'm talking to people in the world.
Happy to.
I love that. I was like, wow, yes, I do all those things. Thank you. Such a nice welcome.
Yeah, I don't know about you. I love your response to that. I always feel like shrinking a little bit when people are reading my bio.
Really? Okay, well then that was a great life lesson for you, because look at me, I just stepped into it and it was like, yeah, that's right. That's right. That's what I do.
Absolutely. I love that. And I will take that stance from now on. So thank you. Yeah. Okay, we're done. We can just wrap it up now. Lessons learned.
Look at us out in the world. I feel like I'm saving one woman at a time, and you probably can relate to that. Like, this midlife situation is a situation. And so they need us. We're doing good work in the world. So anyway, I'm super happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also really exciting work and really fulfilling work. And so those are all such great things. So
yeah.
From that point, Kayla, tell us, who are you and how did life introduce you to this version?
I love that question, because the world introduced me to this version like a slap in the face. That's a hindsight thought, by the way, during COVID. And I think that COVID now in hindsight was such a reinvention for a lot of people. It gave everyone such a break from whatever their reality was. Even though I didn't stray away from where I was in this world, I truly believe I was put here to do fitness. I've been in the industry for almost 32 years now, since I was 18. And it's always been a heart space for me. But during COVID, so I'm 49, and during COVID, I was in my mid 40s, and I was so mad at everybody. I was dragging my spin bikes in and out of my studio. I was fighting the city. I had the district attorney at my door multiple times. I mean, it was a upheaval situation for a lot of people. So I'm preaching to the choir, I'm sure. But what I did not know is that I was in the throes of perimenopause. So what a difficult time, right? To discover that like the brakes were put on and everything was changing. Because I'm in the industry, I'm so body aware in a very positive way, but just like I know when something's off. But it was so clouded by the reality of where the world was that I had no clue. So that to me, to answer your question, was such a pivotal moment. And two things happened. One, the entire world went to Zoom. And so I was, I live in Santa Barbara, California, and I've been until about 2, 3, 4 years ago, a very bricks and mortar fitness girl, right? An in-person trainer, fell in love with group exercise. I mean, have a spin studio. I fell in love with group exercise. It's been my first love, but really that one-to-one in person is what I've always done. And because the world flipped on a dime, and my entire business went to Zoom, I was like, oh, it was like this light bulb moment. I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I was like, okay, well, wow, that's fascinating. Like I can actually get outside of my backyard and not even realize it. This is what was interesting though, because COVID lasted forever. Like as it evolved and as I was going through this, and again, this is all hindsight. I was upside down. I couldn't articulate any of this at the time. But as I was going through all this and realizing like, oh wow, like I'm getting older, my body is actually changing. This is wild. Everything I had done in fitness had gotten me ready for that moment. I was like, okay, this is it. All of my education, all of my experience has gotten me ready to help women in midlife. It just became so crystal clear. What was fascinating is I was training about 90% men and I just wanted to dump them. I mean, I love them. That sounds so mean, but I was like, and they're so easy to train. I mean, oh my goodness, they're so easy to train. As long as they're coachable, they are a dream and no drama. And just like, I just had the loveliest clients, but I just had this really deep calling to dig into midlife. So because we were in this lull, and I had access to a spin studio with lots and lots of women. That was my demographic. I just went to work and I did market research and beta testing and just got my hands on any midlife woman I could find because they were all saying the exact same thing. It was just a copy and paste of the same message. I have belly fat out of nowhere. My energy's in the toilet. I have brain fog. I mean, I'm not sleeping. It was just this. And I just thought to myself, this is crazy. It was really the realization for me that I was so lost. And I kind of consider myself pretty bright. I'm definitely well researched. And I thought to myself, one, I'm going to figure this out. Okay, which I did. And two, I'm going to go to work helping every single woman, if it's just one at a time, get through this. And that's where it started. That's where it flipped. And that is my main focus. So Kayla Johnson Fitness very quickly turned into perimenopause coaching. And I just feel like I can't get to women fast enough. That's how I feel. It's just been, and like to what you said, to echo what you said, it's to see somebody through it is so rewarding. And I don't want to make it sound linear by any stretch of the imagination because it's not linear and there's tons of bumps in the road and I'm not through it. I'm in perimenopause. I haven't even gotten to the menopause side yet. So it's not about it's like your wellness journey. You're through your wellness journey when you're dead. Sorry, like that's just how it goes, right? Like you don't arrive on the doorstep of wellness and come sit on the couch and say, "Well, I'm glad that's over." I mean, you're in the journey until you're no longer walking the planet, and that's kind of I think it runs a really beautiful parallel, especially as women. Our hormones are changing so rapidly during this time, I find. And I've had so many conversations with physicians just to try to keep wrapping my head around it. And it's different and it's nuanced, but it's kind of the same theme that it's just this constant evolution. But when you have clients and women that you're working with, make these little milestone moments and these light bulb moments of like, oh, okay, I get what you mean now. What I did when I was 25 is no longer going to serve me. Okay, I get it now, right? It's like those little things and prioritizing protein and fiber. It sounds like a lot of lip service because we're all living in this echo chamber if we're in midlife, but it's legit stuff. It's legit stuff.
Mhm.
So anyway, that was like my aha pivotal moment. It's so clear in hindsight. It's so clear. And my silver lining of that nightmarish time is that it was a career pivot for me into something that's been so gratifying.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing your story. It's so
Yeah.
important. And I don't know that I yet have had a guest on who hasn't started with and during the pandemic. It's so interesting. I part there's 1000 threads that I want to pull out of that story, so I'm just going to start with this one, but it's so interesting to me that we're now 5 years out from 2020, right? And I feel like in some ways we're only now beginning to really understand what all of the impacts were. We made like my story is the same as yours, right?
Mhm.
Different context. I was an educator. I
Mhm.
was providing professional development for other educators at that point in time. And so again, like from fully in person in
Mhm.
buildings with hundreds of people every day to suddenly being on a screen and trying to make that connection. So many things shifted and changed. And when you said I was angry all the time, light bulb came on for me too, because similarly, like I was experiencing a lot of symptoms, but one of them now that that really stands out to me looking back is how pissed I was at everyone and everything, and that I couldn't make the changes I wanted to make in both my personal life and in my professional life. And instead of what my former responses would be prior to perimenopause, it just was this rage and
Mhm.
this like militantness in myself that I hadn't experienced before, which both served me and was a challenge at the same time. I
Mhm.
mean, it absolutely served me, and that it made me really reconnect with what mattered and how I wanted to be in the world. And I knew I didn't want to be angry all the time. And I knew
Mhm.
that that was going to mean making significant life changes. And I think we are in this time where we're really just starting to see how all of those pieces led us to exactly where we were supposed to be. Because I know I am exactly where I'm supposed to be now. And it is fascinating in listening to the stories of so many humans who are having that same experience.
I mean, I think that if we can pull a blessing from it, praise be, 'cause there's a lot of terrible stories. So if there's any silver linings, I think that that's pretty incredible because it was life altering for so many in a very, very negative way. And I feel really grateful that I came out the other side with some pretty funny memories
Yeah.
and and a lot of TikToks. I like had TikTok fatigue because we have 6 kids. So we had to circle the wagons and bring 5 of them home, and then we just ended up being like the frat house. So there was a lot of like really interesting, but like after 2 or 3 weeks of that, I was like, "Okay, well that was fun, but can we please get back to life?" So anyway,
Yes.
I think that's really cool that it led you to your life's work as well. I mean, how lucky
Mhm.
are we? It's great.
Yeah, deeply grateful, and I never take it for granted.
Yeah.
And I think that like disconnection to actually connect is one of the themes that I see with midlife women.
Mhm.
And I would imagine you see that too, because it's part of our story that letting go of all of the external factors that were driving our lives. Like I sort of saw us as being driven by all of these external factors, and being able to disconnect from that allowed us to actually connect to who we are and what we actually want. Like it gave us time to think
Mhm.
about what do I actually want? And that is where I'm seeing a lot of the shift for a lot of the women that I have conversation with is through that avenue.
Yeah, well, it almost like it gave us permission because it got turned on its head. So it was an opportunity to really kind of almost go back to the drawing board. That's kind of how I saw it because I had the same experience with just people around me,
Yeah.
moving. I mean, beyond like getting a doodle in an air fryer, people are moving and getting a divorce. And I mean, it was like it shook things up
Yes, it
for sure.
absolutely did.
Yeah.
And through that journey, there was a turning to ourselves and realizing I have to start taking care of my body now. And as we were experiencing symptoms, realizing there is something major changing. You know, when you said the things I did when in my 20s, the things I did in my 30s, they no longer work for me. That's a conversation that I hear and have regularly.
Yeah.
And so how did you support women to really tuning into specifically one, what isn't working and what can we do differently to be
Mhm.
supportive of the body that I have now?
Absolutely. It's such a good question. Honestly, what I do is one to one. So I love community and I bring women together in a community, but my coaching happens with them one to one because we're not cookie cutter. And a lot of what I do in that one to one coaching is I build trust because I also am somebody who I'm a recovering cardio bunny, whatever you want to call it, like massively. Like I've worked out my entire life. Before I was in fitness, I was a dancer. Never, ever, ever not moved. Got super lucky and ended up in a weight room at 19 years old because the boys were cute. But like I got lucky because I never left the weight room. I went there because the boys were cute, but I stayed because I loved how I felt. And listen, at 19 years old, I had no idea I needed muscle, to be clear. Like I had no idea that it was the mechanism of burning fat and all the things that we now know. Okay, I would just did it because the boys were cute. And then I ended up loving feeling really strong. So I got lucky in that regard. But on top of that, I was a cardio addict. And we've been indoctrinated to thinking that it's the answer and endless hours of cardio. And when you're young and you're full of hormones and you're super juicy, like you can kind of just abuse your body. It's like a broken clock is right twice a day. It wasn't, it wasn't done with science. It was just that's what we were told. I'm a baby of the 80s and 90s. And that's just what we did. We did step classes and do you remember like not the stair mill now, but the stair stepper? Do you
Hmm.
remember that thing? Like
Yes, I
everybody
sure
like
do.
put full body weight on it and then just move our feet as fast as we could. I mean, it's like an hour of that was scratching the surface. What is so fascinating to me is I am 90% of women that I talk to still. And we want to just beat ourselves up with the cardio. We want that, just drenched in sweat. And I have to say that feeling is very addictive. I own a spin studio. Okay. It is a 45-minute ass beating. Okay. So, like, I fully get it. But also getting women to understand this is where the trust part comes in is that we have to figure out a better way because what that's doing is keeping us stuck. And I just share my story that I have science to back up all the things that I say. But at the end of the day, what moves the needle with the women that I work with is that I've been there. I've been there and I just took a leap of faith because I was stuck. And I thought, okay, well, if this is what I've been doing, and I was still weight training. So it's not like I needed to adopt weight training. I was just doing so much cardio because it was part of what I did for a living. Okay. So that conversation it seems simple. It's a hard conversation to have. It's a hard conversation to implement where I'm like, okay, listen, we have to stop doing these crazy spin classes. And I know that you enjoy running, but we have to, I kind of come from a point of like meeting in the middle because I will say this. Joy matters. Okay, so if we want to have, it's kind of two different conversations. So if we want to maximize results, we want to maximize fat loss, we want to maximize maintaining our lean muscle, all right, we want to age gracefully. I want you to do X, Y, and Z. And nothing in that X, Y, and Z includes excessive cardio. Nothing. Okay, nothing. Sorry. But I recognize that there's a joy factor. And 45 minutes in that spin room with the community that I've created is one of the most joyful experiences I have. And that matters. So, to my women who are in their mid 50s who just cannot give up that 5 mile run twice a week, I just say to them, manage your expectations. What's the goal? Manage your expectations. If it brings you that much joy, if you're doing it, I was a half marathon runner. Okay. I was a half marathon runner to be skinny. Let's just be really clear about that. I was not a half marathon runner because I got a runner's high. I never got a runner's high. I was in a chiropractic office constantly, in a PT office constantly, massage therapist constantly. I had a speed coach. I mean, you want to talk about a waste of time and energy because I was a cardio addict and I just broke my body down. So I'm like, if that's why you're running, you are absolutely going down the wrong road. But if you are running because it brings you joy,
Yeah, I think
why
that's
do that?
really, yeah, there's a couple of things in there, right? Like recognizing the individualism of every woman is really important. And I love that you talked about the importance of joy because I do find that that becomes a sticky part of a conversation sometimes when someone is like, but I really love running. And my response to that always is if you love it and your body loves it, great.
Great.
Then keep doing it. I like how you talked about the manage the expectations. I think that's a really important element of it too, though, because sometimes they have that conversation of like, but it's not as easy as it used to be. I don't see the same results.
Mhm.
All of those issues come to the surface for sure. The
Yes.
other thing I wanted to talk to you about in terms of cardio is the fear factor. Because we were so indoctrinated
Mhm.
about the impact of cardio and that that's what you have to be doing. When I have conversations with women specifically about weight training, there is this huge fear of letting go of a cardio practice that doesn't bring them joy, that they do because they feel, because the motivation is fear. And I'm wondering how you approach that conversation with people and help them let go of, because it's such deep programming that we have. No, I when you were talking about the stepper, I have memories of being in an aerobics class when I was 11 years old.
Same. Same.
Yeah, it makes me emotional thinking about it now that at 11 I felt like I needed to be in a studio doing this like intense cardio, aerobics workout, which was all the rage at the time, but that is deep in my cells. And
It
so
is.
even with all the knowledge I have, and I have shifted my practice, but there's still like that program still comes to the surface. I have to talk it down on a regular basis. And how do you work with women through that?
We negotiate. I know that sounds ridiculous. I think your dog is so excited right now. I love it. It's almost hard to be mad at your dog because that dog is so excited that those people are home. I love it. So anyway, I literally negotiate with people. That's where I have to negotiate because I can't strip it away because there's resistance and I understand it. I mean, I've walked in their shoes. I understand it. It's result driven. So when you can show a woman results, this is the part that blew me away. A lot will listen to me based on my story. I can't believe how much more time I have because I'm not going crazy in the gym on cardio machines and doing all that nonsense. Before COVID, I was teaching 13 spin classes a week. Can you even wrap your brain around that? That was only 5 years ago. 13 a week. Like it just beats your body down. So a lot of it is education. Okay. Education. And if you're paying attention, it's everywhere. We are all saying the same thing. It's not like have some abstract thought over here that I'm trying to convince people of. Like I can throw a few podcasts at them, but we're all saying the same thing. So there's a lot of social support, but we have the joy conversation. And if we're getting down to brass tacks and we're talking about changing body composition and wanting our clothes to fit different, forget the bathroom scale. That can go out the window. I hate them. I don't want to talk about them. But if we want to have a conversation about actually looking different and feeling good in our body, then I have a hard conversation and I say, if you are spinning 4 days a week, you get two. So pick them. I'm just talking about local people. Pick them. And then we're going to implement weight training instead of, I'm not going to make you stay home, weight training instead of, and then we start to work in steps. You know what I find about steps that I think is really interesting? It turns into a game. So it's a little bit distracting. We talk about a weighted vest, right? We talk about starting light, really building up to that, but I give them something else to focus on. So I'm not just taking it away, I'm replacing it with a different behavior, but it's definitely a negotiation. It's kind of funny. I'm like, you've hired me because I'm the expert. I really need you to listen. And just forget about the science. Let me just tell you what happened to me. And my body changed, things calmed down. I was sleeping better. I hate to say that we're delicate in this phase of life, but we are a little bit. It
Mhm.
just the hormones changing just makes things really, there's just such an upheaval. And that's pretty much how I get to people's. I replace the behavior with something else. And we do weigh out, we do negotiate. I know that sounds ridiculous, but we do. And we weigh out like, okay, well, if that brings you so much joy, you can still do it. Because I'm results driven. I'm type A. Like I want people come to the table with me to get results. So I can't just blow smoke and say, oh yeah, keep doing your 7 days a week of spin class and you're gonna do great. It's not the truth. We got to
Yeah.
reframe. So anyway, I hope that
Yeah,
answers that.
absolutely. And I want to make sure that we bring everyone to the same place in terms of the knowledge of the importance of weight bearing exercise.
Yes.
Because I find it is like one of the most challenging conversations because again, so many misconceptions. And I will have people inevitably, when I'm facilitating a session and I start talking about, look, we need to lift heavy shit, it's the number, or like it is the main determinant of the quality of our health span. And
Yes.
someone will say, well, what about body weight? And what about, can't I just do yoga and Pilates?
Mhm.
So I'm going to leave that as like the tee off point for you to
Yeah,
continue on.
absolutely. And I get that's probably 3 or 4 times a day I have that conversation. And so my answer is this: yoga and Pilates, Pilates in particular, women our age love Pilates. Amazing for posture, amazing for core strength, amazing for body awareness and alignment to help support you in the weight room. You have to lift heavy shit. I don't know how else to say it. Like I tell women all the time, I will not work with you. I will not unless you're going to yield to weight training. I'm not asking you to get into the gym 5 days a week. I'm not even asking you to go to a gym. What I did is I realized that during COVID, everybody grabbed equipment. Now, not everybody kept it, but a lot of people that I talk to, I'm like, let's stop spending money. Let's just work right now. I'm like a fire aim kind of girl. So I'm like, let's just go. It's like, whatever you have at home, we're going to make that work and we're going to let this evolve. So I was, as I do, preaching all day long about weight training, weight training, weight training. And then I realized, okay, this is silly. I need to add this into my program. So I do program design for my clients. And that's how I do it. I just say, what do we have? What do we have access to? And if it's limited, then we at least start with a weighted vest. Women are terrified of bulking up. I'm like, my husband always says, oh my gosh, if it was that easy, I'd have arms like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like you're not going to bulk up. But I hear it every single day, if not 4, 5, 6, 7 times a day. I don't want to look bulky. I want to feel toned. It's indoctrination. It's all that is. It's propaganda.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's skinny diet culture propaganda. Okay. And so one person at a time, I don't know, like one person at a time, I just say, please, your muscle is your retirement account. Period. Like at 65 years old, if you don't have a 401k or some type of retirement, how are you going to live? It's the exact same thing. You have got to make deposits and prepare for 80, 90-year-old Kayla. And it's real easy to get, especially as we're younger, to get so wrapped up in the aesthetics of what's happening. And I'm never going to say that's not important. I like looking good. I said what I said. Okay. But on the eve of 50, I'm absolutely looking at 80-year-old Kayla because I see too many horror stories around me where I'm like, I am not turning out like that. I'm not a grandmother yet, thank God. Okay. But like as that time comes, like I want to be the one who can keep the kids for a weekend or a week and let them go away and be really, really able bodied. And what I always tell clients is you can look good now and be strong then. You get to have both. You're not choosing. Weight training, if you want to protect your bones, and not be a statistic, right? With a broken hip and then 50%, within the first year are gone, right? They're gone.
Mhm.
Okay. Talking death. You have to do the work now. So not only do you get to protect yourself for the future, but you get to look banging now because it will change your body composition. It's kind of like the same conversation we just had about cardio. So just a lot of like just trust and watch because none of this happens overnight, as you know. This is like
Mm-hmm.
3 years of just diligent, consistent work that pays dividends, but it doesn't happen. You're not going to see, my program runs 90 days. You're not going to see a deltoid definition in 90 days or a pumped up bicep. You're probably never going to see that because it's really hard, ladies, if you're listening, to put muscle on, to put lean muscle on. It's really hard. You are not going to bulk up. If you think you're bulking up, we need to have a nutrition conversation.
Yeah,
That's what's standing in
absolutely.
the way. So anyway, it is absolutely, when I am talking to women, I'm like, do you exercise? No. Are you open to it? Will you adopt weight training? And if they say no, I'm like, you know what? I'm just not the right coach for you. I'm not dragging you by your ponytail.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you want to be coachable, then amazing. There's nothing I love more than taking somebody from scratch and teaching them how to do a squat. It's like a push up. It's like I love all of that, but you have to be a willing participant. So yes, we have got to lift. And again, I just start really, really small. Let's do 2 20-minute sessions in our living room. Let's just do something and then let it evolve. I worked out for 45 minutes this morning. It wasn't the most exciting thing I've ever done in my life. I mean, some training sessions I get, they're better than others, but like you just do it.
Yeah.
It's
I
not
will
sexy.
say Yeah, going back to what you were saying about 80-year-old Kayla, that is my motivation now because we also, like during perimenopause, our motivation also changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when I started lifting in my sort of mid 30s, I would spring into bed, get my gear on, and be like out there ready to go. It's a slower process for me now. I still do it because I
Mm-hmm.
made that commitment to myself. And my
Mm-hmm.
grandmother is 93, and I've talked about this a lot on the show, but she was part of the generation of women who were told to get off hormone replacement therapy. So she went off that, and also she did not do anything to care for her body. She
Mm-hmm.
didn't move, she didn't lift, she didn't do any of those things. And at 93, I am watching her struggle, and I realize 93 is a good
I was like,
age.
that's you got some amazing
It's a
longevity
good
going here.
age.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
And I keep thinking about the quality of life she could be having because she has
Mm-hmm.
had knees replaced, is really struggling right now with mobility. She's got a good amount of frailty going on. She's had a number of fractions. She is like an energizer bunny in that she just keeps going through all of it. And my heart breaks a little bit for the quality of life she could be having had she
Mm-hmm.
had this information and had she known. So my motivation is when I'm struggling a little bit to get that weight in my hand, it's that like 80-year-old Lisa is going to thank you. And 80-year-old Lisa is still going to be able to do this. And so
Yeah.
is 90-year-old Lisa. She's still going to be able to do this. And that is the thing that keeps me going.
Absolutely. And I have some older clients that I still see in person. My oldest client is 76, and
Amazing.
she's just such evidence of what it looks like to stay strong. I mean, she is just so kick ass. I love that. Yeah, I feel the same way. And like I said, you get to have both. You get
Yes.
to have both. You get to feel really amazing now, and then you're just putting that money away for
Yeah.
retirement, you
And
know?
that's such a great way to frame it.
Yeah.
One of the other things I'm wondering about is because we know during perimenopause
Hmm.
that shifting our bodies, especially when we're talking about weight loss, and this is a complicated, very, very deeply nuanced conversation. And so we're not going to hit every perspective in this conversation because it's really hard. Everyone has their own perspectives.
We might lose people at 7 hours if we did.
Yeah, exactly. And it also is a reality for lots of people around how they look, but also how their body functions. And we know that it is harder during perimenopause to lose that like 10, 15 that often comes on early on in perimenopause as our hormones are in that chaos zone. If we have nutrition going and we have movement happening and yet nothing is shifting and changing in our bodies, is there another strategy that you are incorporating
Mhm.
or helping women understand to help them through that phase?
Yes, I love this question. And my answer to you is no, Lisa, I just throw pictures up of me and say, eat more protein. I mean,
Perfect. Great. Okay.
so that, no, I love this question because that I am so transparent and the world is full of nonsense. And it's really important to me that I come to the table with everything that I'm doing in full transparency and honesty and not, lead women off a cliff. So can I go into a story and just
Yeah, please.
time?
Yeah.
So my struggle went, and I finally realized, okay, so in my mind, if you were in perimenopause, you didn't have a cycle. Okay, so I don't know about you. No one talked to me about perimenopause. No one talked to me about sex. No one, I mean, just nothing. Okay. So I didn't know what the word meant. And I, in my brain, had made up the reality that I was in perimenopause, whatever that word meant, by the way, because I didn't know what it meant. If I didn't have a cycle, and I have still to this day have a clockwork cycle. So I really had no idea what was happening. So as I am having conversations with friends, as what we do as women, right? Like, are you experiencing this kind of a thing? My clothes weren't fitting, which was wild because I have never struggled with my weight ever, not a day. I danced my whole life. I've been in fitness. Now, I'm not saying that nonchalantly, like, oh, I put no effort in. And I've just been, so fit. I've put tremendous effort in, but I've never taken my foot off the gas. And all the things that I've ever done, a life of just full balance, have always worked. So shockingly enough, it was not the weight gain that grabbed my attention. It was getting up at 3 in the morning, and not only getting up at 3 in the morning, but ruminating, perseverating over the dumbest details. That is just not my personality. I'm not anxious. I sleep. And that was the thing that like knocked me over. I'm like, okay, now I'm going to work. I mean, you would think that the weight gain as a fitness professional would have been the tipping point. I think I was still in denial, but there really was no denying it because of the spin studio and because of how we celebrate in that studio with milestones and birthdays. I was being documented. Like this was not happening in my head. I could still pull videos and pictures out where I'm like, oh, woof, something's happening. But also my clothes weren't fitting. I couldn't put my jeans on. Like it was terrible. So I did what we all do. I went looking for the answer secretly in the dark because I was embarrassed and because I'm the one that leads from the front. Like who motivates the motivator? I mean, that was my role, was to show people the way, and I was lost. So in a very quiet way, I just started doing the work and doing the research. And like we all do, I was looking for the answer. There isn't one, by the way, ladies. So I thought, okay, even though I preach this all day long, that there's not a silver bullet and there's no such thing as monotherapy, I really thought hormone replacement therapy was going to be the thing that was going to get me back. And so where we live in Santa Barbara, there's few options with OBGYNs. Actually, no, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole of the lack of knowledge and care. So I just went, you know what, forget it. I'm not going to fight that fight. I'm going to hire a concierge physician who specializes in menopause. Let's just get on with it. So I did a ton of research, went in there. It was great. Got on estrogen, got on testosterone, got on progesterone, and definitely didn't want to scratch people's eyes out. Positive. Okay. I think hormone replacement therapy is a community service to a certain extent. Okay. Especially if you're in the public sector. I was definitely within 2 weeks, I was sleeping again. So I definitely was feeling, I will die on hormones. Like I was definitely feeling the impact of, and then as I was educating myself, I was like, holy moly, I can't even believe I was afraid of this. Uneducated. So highly recommend those listening. You've got to educate yourself on hormones. This is so critically important, but I don't want to stay here. So definitely felt better, but the weight, and I gave it months. It's not like I was on estrogen for 2 weeks and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not skinny yet. I gave it almost 8-9 months. And again, feeling better, but not moving the needle. Okay. So fun fact, I'm a little bit obsessed. I'm going to use the word obsessed with brain health. Anybody that knows me, I'm terrified of dementia, which is crazy. I'm going to stop saying that. I'm interested. It's a better framing. And so a client of mine sent me a podcast that was GLP-1 peptides in relationship to helping with dementia. And that's why she sent it, because she's like, I know you're crazy about brain health. You really should listen to this. And I'm like, I couldn't wait to listen to it because I love that type of research. And as I'm listening to this doctor, she is literally telling my story. Has that ever happened to you? Where you're listening to something, you're like, oh my gosh, she's living my life right now. And number one, I could just tell she was so informed and so educated. And just the way that she came to the table with this conversation about GLP-1 peptides being administered in such a different way, because we're now not talking about obesity. We're talking about wearing a perimenopause sweater. When she said that, I was like, oh my gosh, because not only did I not ever suffer from belly fat, and I definitely had belly fat, but like I had cellulite on my knees. And to be clear, I have cellulite. Okay. Normal. I have cellulite. I'm not talking about like evaporating cellulite by any stretch, to be clear, but I had it in weird places that I'd never had it before. My arms, I was just puffy. And she was literally telling my story. Now, I have to be really clear about this. I don't want to take this for granted. From a lifestyle perspective, you don't do more of the things than this girl. Like I have an infrared sauna in my backyard. I've got a cold plunge. I have a weighted vest. I weight train. I go to bed early. I don't drink alcohol. I prioritize protein and fiber. Like in fact, I was getting to a place where I was being rigid because I was desperate. And I preach to my clients, please don't get rigid. Rigidity has zero shelf life. It's like diet culture. You cannot do it. You cannot sustain it. And what happens with rigidity is binging. Don't do it. But I'm so disciplined that binging would have never happened, I'm not proud of that. I'm just saying I am. I was so rigid and nothing was working. Nothing was working. So I knew it wasn't me. I was not having a compliance issue. Okay. Now on the flip side of this, as I'm watching people go on Ozempic and lose a buttload of weight, I personally, okay, this is just me. I was never the trainer that was like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with you? Like, eat less and move more. fat ass ever. In fact, I was the one that was just like in the background, because you got to let someone win the race and then teach them how to run. Like, they're going to die of comorbidities. This is saving people's lives. So just to be clear, that's how I felt about it. I personally never had a stigma attached to Ozempic. For me, can we be real for a second? For
Mm-hmm.
me to lose 10, 15, 20 pounds, I was so embarrassed, because you know what I knew? I was going to have to come clean, because there was just no way that if I did this and it worked, that I was going to say, oh, I just eat protein.
Yeah. Well,
I
thank you
mean,
for being real and
I should
honest.
be so light about it. But like at the time, I was like, as I was doing the research, I was like, oh my God, this is a thing. Like, I could take a really small amount. I've started learning about all the peptides. Okay. And you and I are not doctors. So we're not going to go into all the
No.
biology of this. This is not our scope. But as I was doing the research and really educating myself, I was like, this is a thing. Holy moly, this is a thing. And I'll save you the sordid details, but I had this really weird thing happen with this company. I brought a perimenopause company into Santa Barbara to do a seminar just for education. And at the same exact time, side by side, I was researching GLP-1s. And I found this doctor, and I started researching. I'm like convinced that this doctor is messaging me from China, if it's even a doctor. I am so skeptical. Like, I am so skeptical. I'm like, this is not even a real person. 2 weeks before I had the seminar with this company, perimenopause company, I was talking to the same exact doctor who lived in Beverly Hills. It was a sister company, and I had no idea. It was wild. I was like, oh my gosh, this is kismet. So I was actually able to sit with him, Dr. Michael Green. He was so awesome. He gave me so much education about GLP-1 peptides. So it was like kind of off to the races. I just had such a confidence in the research I had done. Okay, so let me get to the punchline. So I started that venture, I don't know, it was a year and a half ago. And it took about 5 or 6 months, but I dropped almost 20 pounds. But more importantly than the weight loss, which, don't get me wrong, the weight loss, like, I'm in my body again. I'm just me again. I'm me again. But it took that rigidity away. It took that desperate, like, I can't do anything away. And I can't say enough about it. So it's a very, very small dose. People ask me all the time about dosing. Do not ask me about dosing. This is a prescribed peptide from physicians. I have a peptide program within my accountability program for this exact reason. So we can help with the dosing and the lifestyle. Again, I'm the lifestyle girl, right? I make sure that we're doing all the things, because there's two issues with GLP-1 peptides. One is compliance, which is the biggie, okay? And second is the dosing and the poisons in the dosing. So you want to go slow and low on these peptides. There shouldn't be any side effects. There is so much bad press out there because people are getting overdosed. It's just plain and simple. And I just really encourage your audience, and I know you don't know a lot about peptides, to just, if there's curiosity about them, just do the research. Is there. The research is there, but you got to put your earmuffs on when it comes to all the rhetoric. The reality is that there is some bad press around it. Hollywood ruins everything. Okay. So there's some bad press on it for a reason. There is. People are abusing it. It's there for a reason, but you got to educate yourself on it. I want to yell it from the rooftops. And so once I realized, okay, this is a thing. Oh my gosh, it is so, which, by the way, I was fully convinced and comfortable with the fact that it was safe before I was this is injectables. Before I put a needle in my body, to be clear, I had done the work. And that's really what people pay me now for, is because I've done the work. I did thousands of hours of work to figure all of this out. Not to be dramatic, it changed my life. I mean, to get your life back and to feel so good in your body again, when your head hits the pillow at night, that you had done everything and nothing was working. There wasn't one question mark behind anything that I was doing. And I can promise you that if I didn't take that leap, I'd be exactly where I was a year ago. And that was a really unhappy person.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing all of that. When we were talking just before we started recording, I said I'm approaching this conversation from a place of curiosity,
Yeah.
because I really don't know how I feel about it. And
Mhm.
it's one of there's so many voices around what's right, what's wrong, what we should think, what we shouldn't think, that I was feeling trepidation. And I think a lot of us do, about even engaging in the conversation or even engaging in the research, because
Yeah.
what does that say about me as a person? Or, all of the value judgments that are laid in any sort of conversation that we have about bodies. And I really, early on in work I was doing around with coaching women, a conversation that I had with a group was, if we really love our bodies, why are we actively working to change them?
Mm.
And it was a really important conversation for us to
Mhm.
have, because yes, we want to love ourselves. We want to love our bodies. And what do we do for things that we love? We pour care into them. We
Mhm.
find out everything we can about them. We do everything possible to make sure that that thing that we love functions to the best of our ability, feels good, experiences joy, all of the things. And
Mhm.
if we can shift the perspective away from trying to change myself, trying to become smaller, trying to take up less space, let's think about it through that lens of, how do I care for things, humans, bodies that I really love, and take that energy and move forward, because that's really the goal.
Oh, I love that. And I tell clients all the time, you have to love yourself through change. If you think you're going to hate your body through change, you got a rude awakening. I love that. I love that mantra. And also too, to speak to your trepidation, I think that it's one, I love that you're open to having the conversation. So thank you. Because I hope that this is helpful and education, it's educating. But like, it's just like your wellness journey. It's very personal. It is very personal. Are GLP-1 peptides for everybody? No. Okay. No. So it's a personal journey. And the compliance piece is so critical. And that is really where I come from, is you have to build a foundation. You're not going to build a house on sand. And if you're not doing all of the foundational pieces, forget it. Forget it. Right. Like that's why I won't give people advice. It's not a money grab. I'm telling you that you need to come at this with coaching and a physician, period. Period. Okay. Because I care about you and I care about people. And I'm not putting my stamp on that because I know nothing about you. So please don't ask me about dosing, because that's the $1 million question, right? Because we're talking about having a very, very small amount, but that is such a personal journey for each person. But I love that. I love that work that you do in that conversation about, yeah, because it's not like, yes, I care about all this. I do. But ultimately, I want to feel good. And the peptide life, which we're going to start hearing it everywhere, the GLP-1 peptide has just opened the door for BPC 157 and NAD. I mean, the peptide life is real and they're changing people's lives. They're expensive now, but they'll be more accessible as time goes on. You're just going to start hearing more and more about it. It's like driving a red car, right? Now that we've opened
Right.
up Pandora's box, like there's gonna be red cars everywhere. But like it's just such a fascinating conversation. And really it's so misunderstood. Like I said, I didn't come to it from a stigma, but I really thought it was reserved for obesity. I really thought it was reserved for obesity. And I applauded that effort always. But I was in the beginning so embarrassed that I was even thinking about it. I couldn't even have a conversation with myself about it. I was so like, oh my gosh, because I knew the repercussions. I knew that if I didn't and it worked, I just gonna have to tell the whole world, because that's how I
Right.
operate. I was like, this is just not going to be a secret. I'm gonna tell the whole world. So
Yeah.
anyway, I appreciate you asking and being curious.
Yeah, because I like in my own full transparency, like that is where I'm at. And it was part of my curiosity, because I am in that stage of perimenopause where I work out, I'm conscious of what I eat, like all of the things, and I have the perimenopause sweater.
Yeah.
And I wish I could say I didn't get up in the morning every day and look at myself in the mirror and feel frustrated and
Mm-hmm.
feel disappointed. That's and being aware of the emotions that we experience through that also is important. Like I
Mm-hmm.
look and I am, in like full honesty, I'm disappointed in myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something I have to be careful of, because I am doing everything I
It's not in your control. Okay, sorry.
exactly.
Everybody needs to
Yeah.
hold for a second. We're gonna have a quick coaching moment with Lisa.
Yeah.
It's not in your control. There's nothing
Yeah.
for you to be disappointed about. You're doing all the things. You're doing all the
Yes.
things. It's just I was insulin resistant, which is probably where you are, which is what happens in perimenopause. And nothing was going to snap me out of that except for a GLP-1 peptide. I mean, you're saying my same story, but like, yeah,
Yeah.
being disappointed,
Yeah.
I
And
feel that. I feel that. That is not a good feeling.
It's not. And I wanted to be honest about that because it is a function of the program that we were fed a long time ago. Like my
Yes.
all of my training and all of my rationality knows that it's not disappointment in myself, that I'm doing everything I can and this is the stage that I'm in. I'm going to have to look at doing something differently again.
Mm-hmm.
And so this conversation has opened my mind to something I never would have considered had we
Yeah.
not had the conversation. And it's the both and like we feel things. And that's why it's also important to acknowledge them and know how to move through it. I'm not going to deny that I'm feeling that way. I know where it came from. I know why I feel that way. And this is how I'm going to I need to change my mindset around that. And at the same time, give myself grace
Yes.
for all the reasons that I'm feeling those things, all of the pressures that we wear internally and externally,
Mm-hmm.
and just give ourselves as much love and grace as we can, and then implement all the tools available to us so that we can feel the best we absolutely can.
I totally agree with you. And that you are echoing what I say all day long, that there's a very fine line between making excuses and giving ourselves some grace. And it's a fine line for everybody, and everybody's line is different. And I am such a big believer in giving ourselves grace. I even say it on the spin bike constantly when I'm teaching classes. Like, you just have to give yourself a break. You're doing the best that you can. But even if, because I'm sure this conversation is really hitting with your audience, there's probably a lot of head nodding right now. They may not agree with me, but there's probably a lot of head nodding. And because the conversation can be triggering, let's just be honest,
Yep.
around GLP-1s, which is totally fine. Okay. And if you're triggered, it's because you're thinking. And I love that. I love
Yeah.
triggered because it means that you're not brain dead. But like, even if you're not disappointed, you're frustrated. Like, because you know that you're doing all the things that you're supposed to be doing to care for your body, and you just don't feel great in your skin. And I think that there's nothing wrong. I hate when it's called vanity weight. It makes me crazy. There is nothing wrong with wanting to feel good in your skin. I don't know where that was written either. Like, oh, it's vanity weight. I don't freaking care what you want to call it. When my clothes don't fit and I don't feel good in my body, that matters. It matters. It affects how I show up in the world. It affects my ability to help other people. Like, that matters to me. So anyway, I
Yeah.
just had to say that because I feel like there's a bit of a stigma around that. And I don't like that. And and I deal with it in the online space constantly, women apologizing for wanting to lose 15 pounds. It comes with an apology.
Yeah.
You don't owe
Absolutely.
anybody an apology.
Yeah. And it's almost like there isn't a space that we can go into without apologizing for ourselves. Because again, that's that like deep programming of be smaller, be quiet,
Yep.
you don't deserve, it's all of those things. And so, I just wanted to like wrap this conversation up because you talked about, there is so much stigma in so many areas. And our motivation is never to say you should do, you should not do. It's just to provide information and give you something to think about. And like you said, if you're feeling triggered, it's because you're thinking about something. And I really like that framing
Yeah.
because I think it's important. And we can feel triggered about something and then sit with the question of why. Why am I feeling that way? And that will give us some insight as to what's really going on the inside. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. This was such a fascinating conversation. If you want to learn more, all of Kayla's information will be in the show notes below the episode. So make sure you check it out. And as always, reach out with your questions, things that you're wondering about, things that you're thinking about. We definitely want to hear that. This conversation is big and nuanced, and the more voices who are lending their informed perspectives, the better for all of us. So thanks, Kayla.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It was so fun chatting with you.
Hey everyone. Thanks for joining me on this week's episode of Transforming 45. I hope you feel inspired, empowered, and ready to embrace every facet of your midlife journey. If you enjoyed our conversation, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. These actions make a world of difference in growing our podcast community. Your support helps us reach much more amazing listeners just like you. And don't forget, please share an episode you love with a friend or with your community. Sharing our stories is what helps our community grow. Keep shining your midlife magic, and I'll catch you next week.
Electricast.